Yeah, that's right, folks. We are back. More fun on Drum Talk TV with second time offender Derek Ferguson, drummer, songwriter, lyricist, and some producing as well. Drummers make such great producers. We'll get into that. Derek Ferguson with Refestramus. Derek, how are you out there in Chicago?
Doing very well, boy. It's summer has arrived here in Chicago. I'll tell you that much.
What was the weather like today?
It's 85 here, which is a little
Oh,
hot for us this early in June. So
yeah.
it gets hotter, that's for sure. But it's we haven't seen this in a while.
Cool. Hey, everybody, tell us where you're from and what the weather's like. I'm in Globe, Arizona, 100 miles east of Phoenix, up in the mountains. But even up at about 4,000 feet, it was 94 today. So I watered twice. I'm doing triage in my little greenhouse where I grow peppers and herbs and things like that. And when it's 94 outside, it's like 122 in there. And it's just, even with the little vents open and stuff. So it'll not get like Phoenix here. It'll be 115, 18, 110, something like that at some point. Here at that point, we're like 20 degrees cooler. So it's not like down there. But I'm excited to talk about the new album. We're going to show this really cool cover too. We'll talk about the artwork, Morri's Rock Boutique. So cool. I love the Easter eggs in the album cover, first of all. But tell us about the artwork and how the design came about.
So we've been working with the same artists. Actually, it's a couple, a husband and wife, based in Serbia, ever since the first album. And the first album, I sort of gave them a spec that I thought it would be cool to have an alien sort of landscape that you're looking out into. That was an album called Decoupage,
Right.
back in 2020, I think it was that came out. And when we did the second album, I thought, well, I liked the first album so much, but in the first album, you just got this glimpse of the alien landscape through sort of a portal on the front album. I said, I'd really like to see more of that. So on the second album, in Touriste, what they did was they said, okay, the first album was sort of looking at it through a portal. In the second album, the cover, the traveler has arrived on the album, so he has arrived on the alien planet, so you actually see him on the album cover. This, he's found his way to a alien rock store. Rock here sort of serving two purposes. One meaning the rocks that you see sort of in the window there, but of course also rock music. And there is, in fact, the whole album is named after a place in Asuncion, Paraguay, which is a place called Morri Rock Store. And the woman who makes our T-shirts is actually based there. So this is a sort of thank you to her.
Well, I've been there actually, and I can prove it. Let's see, I got like a few different things there.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I have a bright pink one, like the ones in the window next to my bedside, and I got a white one back there in the corner. People can see it when I open it up. But that's really cool. Yeah, it was well, I don't want to give away the price because I got a discount, and I don't want to ruin expectations. But the spaceship is so cool because it's so retro of like 1940s space art, which I just love. And you can see that it's the same artist team as the other albums, which is really cool.
I loved the old Journey album covers, how it was a sequence of different vignettes.
Yeah.
So with any luck, the fourth album will follow the same pattern. We'll get to see what happens next.
Yeah. Roger Dean became so synonymous with Yes, until they took some Bad Acid and had some other album covers. My favorite non-album cover, which didn't have anything to do with Bad Acid, was Magnification, of course, by our friend. But this is such a cool look. And you got to listen to the album and hold the cover in your hand. It's like that type of experience,
It's We are probably within the next couple of months, we will get the vinyl in, and
Oh,
we're doing a gatefold version of it. So
oh.
you get this on the front cover, you get the back cover, and then when you open it up, you get to see a lot more of the.
Inside the store or the landscape?
It is another portion of the landscape that answers some of the questions around the Easter eggs. So
Cool.
it's worth seeing.
Awesome. Awesome. Beautiful. Um, talk about the name of the band for those who don't know. Where did it come from? How did you land on that? And what does it represent?
So the word means to reorganize yourself, to get yourself reorganized. But it's not a real word, as it turns out. It's a word my mom always used to mean that. And the example I give of it is whenever you go through a TSA security checkpoint, when you come through the other end, they have benches there for everyone to get themselves Refestramus. You got to
That's great. Oh my gosh, that's such a great analogy. I totally see it, feel it. I've been there.
Yeah.
Refestramus, get yourself back together. Yeah,
Exactly.
love that. There's a Yiddish word that is the opposite of that. If someone is verblunget, they're kind of like confused and discombobulated, so they need to get Refestramus.
That's, you can put the two together.
Yeah.
One nice thing about Refestramus is because it doesn't actually exist, any usage of the word that you find on Google is us.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's cool. I want to talk about the first two tracks that I heard. The first two tracks, Tonight, 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 is, sometimes I hesitate to give my take on the musical imprint it made on me because my adjectives might not align with how you guys feel about it and what your intentions are. So I'm just going to barf it out. But it starts out almost like very delicate and mysterious, and it quickly grows into almost like a rock operatic kind of feel. It's grandiose. It's this rock orchestra kind of feel, but I don't mean that in a cheesy way whatsoever, folks. It's just so much going on, but it's not all mushed together. We've heard that before, where there's too many frequencies that just muddle it all up. This isn't like that. And the vocals are doing one thing, and it's epic. And it's like 7 minutes and 37 seconds or something like that. It's a great piece of music. Talk about that one. And again, the arc it takes you on, the sonic journey. I just love how when it starts out, you have no idea what it's going to turn into, and it's great.
Well, thank you. So the idea behind the song is we're trying to do a sort of audio film noir thing, like, the 1930s. What is it, Philip Marlowe sort of thing, and couple points of interest on it. The vocalist on it is a woman named Lynx, who is the vocalist for a band out of Los Angeles called Old Blood. And you'll notice a lot of different featured artists on the album, because with this one, for the first time, I was writing songs thinking about who would sound really good on these songs. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, boy, her voice would really suit this. And as I was putting it together, I had this idea in my head of where I guess I should say, as it started coming together, I was thinking heavy metal Fleetwood Mac is kind of like.
Oh, wow.
And the wild thing was, I thought, well, boy, all right, that's my vision, but that's a really unusual vision. I couldn't even really describe it to anyone. And sure enough, I did see that one of the reviews that we got that was a very positive review said, it's almost like a heavy metal Fleetwood Mac. And I thought, what are the odds that someone else would hear that and think? I mean, I'm not exactly sure. Maybe it's the fact that there's a female voice and a male voice, and
maybe.
but That's I should also say a good part of the credit goes. So I'm only one of the two producers on this album. Ian Beamout is really the primary producer. He knows tons of stuff in terms of engineering and sound separation and miking and all that sort of stuff that I don't pretend to understand. So all credit to him wherever any of that sort of production quality stuff comes in.
Well, the sound separation definitely is brilliant, because it'd be easy to have a song like that with that much sound and it really just kind of run together. Like if you were to just color something with too many crayon colors and then it doesn't really have a color. Whereas the sound separation is great. And that was just on my little sound bar right here under the monitor of my computer. No earbuds yet, headphones, or I haven't gone on that journey yet. I can't wait to turn it all the way up in my truck with the windows up. It's going to be amazing.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a really great representation of the effort, and also sort of a trajectory. I hope that's not offensive. A trajectory of a maturation of the sound. If you go through the albums chronologically, it's like then you get to this, like, oh my gosh, so which is really cool. Lakeview Samurai features, gosh, this name is so familiar, Nam Chumo. Were they on a previous album of yours, or where do I know the name from?
She is primarily known for she's actually on YouTube. She's got a YouTube channel, and she does a lot of sort of rock version of anime themes.
Oh, yes. That's where that's exactly where I know the name from. Yeah.
Really talented, just super talented. And as I was writing out the lyrics, it just occurred to me that, I wanted to, you're always sort of, I don't know if you're treading on thin ice necessarily with something like this, but you want to make sure that you don't cross the line into sort of, cultural appropriation or, making fun or whatever. Right. And yet it is a fun song, and it's based on an actual person. So I live in Lakeview, Chicago. So Lakeview is a neighborhood in Chicago, and it's one of the most eclectic parts of Chicago. And there is, in fact, a gentleman who rides a bicycle around the neighborhood dressed as a samurai with two katanas, two katanas
on his back.
Back, and he's got the helmet and all that sort of stuff. So as soon as I saw that, I thought to myself, "Oh, you're going on the next album, my friend."
Have you ever spoken to him? Is he going to and from a club or an association or something?
I don't think so. He's got two swords, so I've not been inclined to.
Is there going to be some takeover? Is he staking the neighborhood out for a flash mob of samurai? What's going on there?
It would be fascinating to know, right? If anybody knows the Lakeview Samurai has interacted with him, please do reach out. I would love to know the story there.
You know what? I want to look it up on YouTube and see if there's videos about him or anything like that. Maybe someone's filmed him on their mobile or something.
But you see, that's the thing. That's the interesting thing about Lakeview. So for the last album, I had to do a photo shoot, and our PR person wanted me to dress up like a wizard and go outside for, because the photographer wanted to take pictures of me. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, I'm dressed like Gandalf. And I'm going to be outside. Everyone's going to be, but here in Lakeview, nobody, no one batted an eyelash. It's like, oh yeah, there's Gandalf on the corner, noon on a Tuesday, another noon on a Tuesday in Lakeview. So
yes. Run, you fools.
Yes. Yep.
That is so funny. How interesting. I have a gear question about that song. And if I'm off, I'm okay with that. But as soon as I started listening to this song, I thought, I hear the snare drum ringing out without anything on it. Do I? Do you not have any gels, wallets, tape, putty, clay, Bondo, Barbies strapped to the head? Like, there's nothing on the head. It's just a natural snare sound, correct?
It is.
So wait, I want to interrupt and say, folks, if for any reason at all to get this album, get it to hear what a snare drum is supposed to sound like in its natural habitat of being itself. I recognize that right away. I don't put stuff on any of my drum heads, and some people say, well, it cures overtones. What's wrong with overtones? It's part of the sound. It's part of the sing. It's part of the tone and personality and color of the drum. And I love that that's what's on there.
Completely agreed. I think somebody told me very early in my drumming education that if there's something that you're hearing with the drum that you don't like, there's a good chance that you haven't tuned it properly, or there's something else physically wrong with it. Like if you start putting dampers and stuff on it, like, when I was a kid, it was the thing you put together some towels and you put a piece of Scotch tape on it or masking tape and you stick that on. So it, if you get to doing something like that, you should really take a look at, is something wrong with the mechanism, or is it not adequately and equally tuned on each of the love notes, right? Because that can cause some nasty ring, but natural snare, love it.
Yeah, it sounds great. It's like, it's so old school sounding, yet it of course doesn't make the song sound dated, but it's that sound, like that's a drum.
Yeah.
That's what a drum's supposed to sound like. I'm one of those idiots that I don't have a front bass drum head on my big prog kit. I don't have any bottom heads, and I haven't since 1984. And
Wow.
I just love the way they sound. My influence on that was the old days of VLP, Carl Palmer's kit, Phil Collins, Neil Peart. I can go on, Danny Seraphine from Chicago, his big kit, no bottom heads. I can go on and on. And so as a kid growing up I'm 63, so I was, a young kid in the 70s and already playing for many years. That was my info. Barrymore Barlow, Jethro Tull.
Yeah.
It goes on and on. So what happened was I had bottom heads on some of the drums because I had a drum set, and my parents got me another drum set. I mushed them together. Anyhow, what happened was I got them all painted the same color, but they came back the wrong shade, just like totally wrong.
Oh,
the wrong blue. But I had a recording session that weekend. So my friend Mike, who I'm still friends with many years, 45, 50 years later, I said, Mike, let's just put the top heads on, half the work. We got to take all this crap apart after the session this weekend, send it back to the painter. And it just sounded amazing in the studio, with the exception of the snare drum, because the engineer insisted on me taping a wallet and a wad of Kleenex. The snare drum sounded how it should have sounded before that, but I think that was either the in sound then, or he didn't know how to. I don't know, but it's still. We did that. It sounded so good. I don't even know where the other rims or the bass drum hoop are, Derek. It's like lost in space from, I don't know, 12 months ago, and 1983 is when that was done.
Wow,
So,
that's
and I just love the sound. I just love them to ring out. A friend of mine who's a drum maker, shout out to Philip Gelba, Phoenix Drum Company, I did videos for him, and he did a great example. We took an acoustic guitar and we taped a bunch of shit to it. We taped like a rubber duck and his wallet and all this crazy stuff, and he played it, and he strummed it. It was muted. It was like, would you ever wrap your arms around a cello while someone's trying to play it, whichever. And the illustration was, you put too much stuff on the shell of a drum, whether it's giant lugs or stuff on the heads, and folks, think of all the R&D that goes into the design of drums at the drum companies and the drum heads, and then people are putting all this stuff. It just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, it's sort of like if you got a table and it's uneven, putting a sugar packet underneath one of it's like, fundamentally something's wrong.
Yeah.
If you don't like it, and there's a proper way to go about that, but to just throw a bunch of crap on it is not the way.
Yeah, we'll get back to the album since we're talking about gear and sounds. Who are some of your influences as far as not just playing, but drum sounds on certain recordings or as a whole?
Man, it's interesting. You mentioned Barrymore Barlow, and that got me thinking about because we've been having a lot of conversations about how we want the next album to just what the sonic texture of it should be. And I flagged up that one of the differences, so obviously two main drummers that people think of with Jethro Tull, Clive Bunker and Barrymore Barlow. And I've always been a huge Barrymore Barlow fan, but to your point, I've never really. Is it the fact that Barrymore Barlow was just such an amazingly what do you call it, one step up drummer, or is it the fact that the way that the drums were recorded just changed and improved a lot when Barrymore Barlow was behind the kit? Because you listen to an album like Aqualung with Clive Bunker, and you think about the drum fills at the end of Aqualung and all that sort of stuff. To my ear, it's very muffled. And
yes,
I think
almost like pallets on towels on the kit, almost, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And as a result, I've spent years thinking, you know what, Barrymore Barlow was the better of the two drummers, but I had the good fortune to get to see Martin Barr in Chicago, and Clive Bunker was with him playing drums for about half the set.
Wow.
Amazing drummer, but I think he got a bad rap specifically because of the way that they used to mic the drums, I think, those days.
Yeah.
I like a very live drum sound. I was blown away because I've always loved the drum sound on Traffic's John Barleycorn Must Die.
Yeah.
It just sounds like it's right in the room with you.
Live, yeah.
And I really grew up more in the 80s than the 70s, so I didn't have the sort of historical context on it. I thought that album must have been recorded much later than Aqualung, for example. Yeah. It was actually recorded a couple years earlier. It's just, it's not that the technology wasn't available. I guess they just didn't want that sort of live drum sound, Yeah. I love when you hear a cymbal and it just has that nice crisp sort of rattle to it, and you just sort of feel like, well, that the cymbal is here, the snare is there, the bass drum is there, something that's very positional and clean. Spatial, exactly. Yeah.
I think it's both. I think Barry, definitely an amazing player. I mean, he came into the band playing, an epic to begin with. My favorite album, one of my favorite albums ever, is my favorite Jethro Tull album, and that's A Passion Play. That is just such a brilliant album, but that live drum sound is more represented on Minstrel in the Gallery. And when we listen to the intro, that instrumental intro of the title track, it's all Barrymore Barlow, and he's got a backup band with him, and it is so genius. So I think and he had the on Bursting Out, the tour after that I saw was my first Jethro Tull tour. He had the blue Vistalite kit with the double bass going from 6 to 18 inches, and it just sounds so good. That solo on that album is just, he's so good. He's so good.
So your first time you saw them was the Stormwatch tour?
Yes. Yeah. It was also the first time I ever saw someone start a song and stop in concert. What happened was, I don't remember the song, but Ian was sitting down, and they counted and the song started playing, and then he waved his hand, hold it, and there was something wrong with his acoustic guitar, and for some reason he was sitting down. So he called out the tech. The guy came out, and as the guy started to dash off the stage, Ian reached over, grabbed his baseball cap, and put it on for that song. But I never had seen anything like that before. I've seen other stuff since, but yeah, Stormwatch, that was a great tour.
Yeah, it was first time I got to see them was Crest of a Knave. It was maybe 8 years later after that. It was pretty amazing. I just regret that I never got to see the classic lineup. I was just a little bit too I was born too late for it.
but the lineup with Don Perry, who Don was the longest sitting drummer, who's a friend. He's been on the show a few times. I've been meaning to call him, and every time I think of texting him, it's like 1 a.m. or something. But great work. But just Zappa, Steely Dan, yes, and Jethro Tull, just amazing institutions of musicians. When you take any one of those bands and you think of all the amazing, just take the drummers alone that went in and out of those bands. If you're a young muso and you're into like Dream Theater and all the bands, Refestramus, all these great, go back in time and see where those influences came from. I think that's so important to do, because we sometimes, especially when we're younger, we stereotype and think, oh, Nico McBrain must have listened to heavy metal when he grew up. There was no heavy metal. It's like John Bonham, Carmine Appice, Bill Ward, Mitch Mitchell, they all listened to jazz. And if you listen to early Black Sabbath, all the Jimi Hendrix stuff, you hear the jazz in there playing. And I love doing that, finding out, well, who were they listening to? And those 4 bands are some amazing examples of great musicians. But yeah, we could talk forever about that stuff. But who are some of your other influences musically and sonically, Derek?
I think in terms of songwriting, Procol Harum is they never in progressive rock circles get the credit that they were doing. The more I think about it, the more I just realize I've always really liked their ability to have songs that are accessible but still super interesting, and they don't sacrifice anything in credibility in terms of making them short, concise statements. I really like Keith Reid's lyrics too. There's a lot of just clever wit in them, and Gary Brooker's voice is just so outstanding. So I think Procol Harum, Alice Cooper too. Just going outside.
Interesting.
Yeah, outside Prague. Bob Ezrin, in terms of, it's someone I didn't realize I was a fan of until much later in life. But, it's like, because you never really, or at least I never really paid attention to who the producer was on different albums. But, you're like, boy, I really liked Destroyer from Kiss, and boy, I really liked Alice Cooper, and boy, wasn't The Wall from Pink Floyd great? And he's like
the same guy behind the curtain.
Exactly. Yeah. And once again, the thing that he was doing, I sort of felt was like he was taking music that was accessible rock music, and then he was taking it and making it just one step better. Just like, can we do something one that's just a little interesting, something that's a little bit different and out of the norm, which the best Beatles songs are like that, right? There's just
I think that's in part because back then production was being discovered and developed, and most bands didn't have their head around that. They were the artists, they were writing the songs, and they needed that George, that Bob, they needed that. So that's interesting. So from our producer, Steven Schindler, first of all, I knew it didn't quite feel right. So here's the correction. Gandalf actually says, "Fly, you fools," when everything's caving in. But here's a great question from Steve. Derek, if you could use one descriptor for this album, if I could, he says, it would be rip roaring. I'd also like to say The Lucky Ones is a track where I couldn't predict where it would go, which is exciting. I share that same sentiment. I love when it's full of surprises, and yeah, that's a good take, Steve. Rip roaring. There you go. Rip
roaring. I'll take it. That's awesome. Thank you so much. Lucky Ones. It's a really interesting one, because I wrote that song more lyrics first than I usually write songs. Usually the music sort of tends to come first. That one, I would say there was a hook, which came first, and I knew it was going to be Lucky Ones. I had that little bit of melody and just the word "the Lucky Ones." And then I built the lyrics around that, and I built the music around the lyrics. But I didn't realize how unusual the structure was until after it was all recorded and it was laid down. And I went back, and I think, what it was, as I was putting together the gatefold design for the album with the lyrics on the inside, that I realized, wait, I would have thought it would go verse, chorus, but actually it's like verse, chorus, and then something else, and then something else, and then back to the chorus, and then something else. And it seemed like a pop song, but I think all the best songs, it just sort of like flowed the way that it was going to flow, and it has some different stuff in there. It's really about people who are perhaps not the nicest to deal with, and
Okay.
trying to have, which isn't always easy in the time, trying to have a little bit of sympathy, because a lot of times folks who are mean and unpleasant to folks, they've got something going on that's caused
Yeah.
that way.
And we don't always know what's behind that. It could be they stepped in dog poop that day. It could be a life of trauma. We just never know, and anything in between.
Yep.
Interesting. Thanks for those, Steve. And we're talking about, for those just kind of tuning in, we're talking about Morri's Rock Boutique, the new album from Refestramus, and great music. And I'm going to put in the link to where folks can get it, which is right. Boing. Right. Why won't it? Oh, okay. There it goes. There's that. And something you said triggered a question. It was the series. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about your writing process. You normally start with the music. Do you write the music at the drums, in your head, at a piano, a guitar, a kazoo, paper and comb, or blade of grass?
I have, so one of the things that we've tried to do with each album is make it better than the last one. I mean, that's structurally going into each album. What Ian and I have agreed is we try to change it up in some way between each album, where, yeah, this should be better than the last time. We're making this structural change. That's what we'll do it. With this album, I really got into the discipline of, whenever I have a musical idea, I hum it into my phone.
Smart.
Because I read a long time ago that if you compose at your instrument, and for me, obviously, besides the drums, which I'm not going to be composing at, that would be keyboards. If you compose at your instrument, you'll only ever compose something that you have the technical abilities to play. Whereas if you just put it straight out of your head, either onto staff paper, or if you're not into the whole notation thing, put it someplace where you can then go back and very slowly figure out how to do it, but you've captured it in its raw state. You can do stuff that's more interesting. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
I got into a sort of creativity funnel this time, where the album started with maybe 150 different snippets. And
wow.
I just let them sit for about 6 months. And then I went back through them, and you get that ability to have a critical eye. So you go back and you listen to them, and like 80% of them are, what the hell was I thinking? It's, boy, that's crap, more like the thing in Spider-Man where, J. Jameson is going through the photos, crap, super crap.
Super crap.
Yes. And so it probably came down to like maybe about 50 ideas after that. And then started putting them together, and trying to see, all right, how can I get this all to work together? It probably came down to 20, and then those 20 ideas are really what you hear on the album in the form of those. I think it's 8 new songs plus 2 re-recordings of earlier songs.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. Let's check out some Refestramus clips. Get some music going and give people a sip so that they go out and buy the keg worth of your music. The first one is The Devil Returns, an excerpt of that. Check this out. The Devil Returns. Here he comes. Nice. I love the double sax work. Was he influenced by the recently late great Dick Perry, who played with Pink Floyd?
I'm not entirely sure. Trying to remember. Roland Kirk is the
Oh,
jazz person who usually is cited as an influence on both Ian Anderson, and that was the great David Jackson there on
yeah.
dual saxophones from Van de Graaff Generator. Um, that whole experience, that was a clip from our performance at the HRH Prague Festival in the UK last year.
Mm-hmm.
And the set started with a bit of a nightmare scenario that after all the rehearsal with all of our technology and just getting it down to perfection, all of the tech, there was a terrible rainstorm in that part of the UK that day, and it got wet and it didn't work. No in-ears, nothing. And so after struggling for about what seemed like forever on stage to get it back, we decided, you know what? We crossed the Atlantic. Let's perform really for the first time. No click track. We're just going to do it old school.
Mm-hmm.
And we had such a good time. I mean, there's something so liberating about just saying, screw it. Let's just play the way that folks have played music for thousands of years.
Right. Was the click track mainly to stay in sync with special effects, projections, things like that?
No, you know what? We really we don't play with any sort of like pre-recordings or like AV or anything like that. It's so what the folks you saw on the stage there would be myself plus Jan Christiana on bass and vocals, and Diane Potter Voichlin on keyboards. Together they form a band called Octarine Sky, which is a trying to remember the name of their drummer is one of the greats, Simon. Was from the Who. He took over from
Simon Phillips.
Simon Phillips, yes. So, super fabulous musicians.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
They're based.
Jeff Beck.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so many, yeah.
So obviously, little would I say inferiority complex playing drums behind them? I mean, you're playing drums with some folks who played with the best, but
yeah, he's been with Toto for years. Yeah, he's an amazing musician.
Yes, he is. So two of them, they're based here in Chicago. So the three of us were able to practice and rehearse and get everything tight amongst ourselves. But you also see David Jackson, who of course lives in the UK, ex Van de Graaff Generator. We had not played with him prior to actually him walking on stage there. Plus Gareth Cole from Tiger Moth Tales and Alex Hutchings, formerly of Steven Wilson's touring band. And we only got to start playing with them the day before that event. So we felt the click track in order, because there were cues that would tell the folks who had not had the opportunity to rehearse for weeks and weeks, after these 4 measures, here's what's coming up. So we'd be listening to the cues. So it was a little terrifying to have the first time we ever played without the cues to be live in front of that audience. But I got to tell you, the section of music that you chose to play was it almost brought tears to my eyes, because David Jackson played on a song on the new album called Heller NYC. And that was, so we knew he would know that track.
And next clip, actually.
All right. We knew he would know, he'd know that track. The Devil Returns, which is the song that you had a clip of there, was off the previous album. Had no idea that David Jackson would have actually listened to our music and taken a liking to that song. And he just learned that on his own. And so he came on and he played the 2 songs with us that we expected him to play. And then we were like, well, all right, thank you, David. We're going to play this 3rd song. And it's like, oh, is it The Devil Returns? It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, I love that song. I'll play that. And it's like, oh my God.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's get a little look of minute and 23 seconds of Hell or NYC. And aren't they the same? Wait. two things there. One, the vocals are great live. I love that. They really sound good. The other is you take that song, and from the new album, you take Tonight, 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 and it really shows the spectrum of musicality that you guys have and what you've written and put out. It's very, very interesting. It's not, folks, it's, if you're not familiar with the band and their music, it's not a one thing. I mean, I think Tonight, 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 Tonight couldn't be more different from what we just saw, and vice versa, of course, which is really cool. You know, you get to show off and enjoy your diversity, which is awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, it's you know, we're lucky to be on a record label that supports us and lets us do what we want to do. For the second album, I remember, so this album, folks seem to not mind the diversity. Maybe we've sort of got our supporters as well as our detractors at this point in time, but there was a lot of pressure. The record company didn't put any pressure on us, but if you were the sort of person to read reviews and be heavily influenced by them, the message you would have been getting from them is pick one style and be more niche, you know, decide what you want to do. Because that was sort of my reaction too.
Yeah. It's like telling a chef, make one thing.
Yeah.
Make one type of cuisine. There's no reason for that. Here's the thing. So from the idiot with a blended family of 11 kids, 19 grandkids, and now 2 great-grandchildren, you can't please everybody with the same thing. If we were to go on a picnic and just take hot dogs, potato salad, and a watermelon, most people would be crying for something else. So, and I personally don't think art should be created to please people. Art should be created from the heart of the artist, and it will please who it pleases, and that's your audience. Yep. You know,
I completely.
No matter how much you change and morph and arc, if you go from Close to the Edge to Owner of a Lonely Heart, or go from the album Wind and Weathering to, you know, Mama or whatever, it's up to the artist. I don't think fans should have any say whatsoever. So,
it's true.
Although you should take the bottom heads off your drums. I'm just saying. I'm just kidding.
I love that idea, but I am still, so even so you don't even have fronts on your kick drums?
No, and both, all my kits are single bass drum kits. The 2 kits I always have set up are a 4-piece jazz kit with a 20-inch bass drum, or 22. I don't even remember, and a small tom, 12-inch, 13-inch snare, and a 14-inch floor tom. But my big kit is 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 2 timpanis, snare drum, bunch of fun cymbals and stuff, and a gong. And there's 3 other sizes of drums that are put away. And neither of those 2 kits, I'm sorry, the jazz kit has a front head. The jazz kit has a front head and a very small pillow in it. Very small, and it's not even like taped to the head or anything. It's just like in there, and it sounds big. Like I can make that little jazz kit sound like a big fat rock kit, but it's mostly tuned for jazz. And on it, I play like swing, old Steely Dan, old Chicago, stuff like that I found. But on my prog kit, yeah, there's no front head, and it sounds great. All the other drums have no bottom heads, and I love how boo, 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 boo. They ring out, and I love it. You can hear what note they are. Like, correct me if you disagree, or tell me if you disagree, or correct me. And for those of you watching as well, when you see someone that has a bunch of stuff on their heads, and I'm not saying that's wrong. If you love dots and tacks and moon gels, if that's your thing, that's your sound, that's fine. But when I see guys and girls play a 5, 6, 7-piece kit with a bunch of that stuff, and I see them doing great chops and stuff, but all the drums sound the same. I rarely can close my eyes even and decipher how many different notes am I hearing. You know, it's a lot of different thud. I don't know if you can hear my desk, but it sounds like, rather than, That's without heads and
Yeah.
without stuff on your heads. But with stuff on your heads, it's more like they all just sound the same. And
You've
drums meant to have their own sound. That's why there's more than one drum. That's why it's called a ready drum set. Okay.
You've when you put that much padding on your drums, you've essentially gone back to that aqualung sound of
Yeah.
drums only live, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I know Ringo with the towel and all of that, folks, but that was when rock music, and for that matter, pop music, other than Elvis and Chuck Berry and a few others before the Beatles, that's when all that was being discovered and developed. That sound is encapsulated as the sound of the beginning of the Beatles and that era of music. I want to remind everybody this is the year like 3048 or whatever year we're in, and things have evolved, things have changed, technology, musical sensibilities for the listener, for the artist, for the engineer that's building the drums. All those things are different. And there's so many more varieties. And my brain is still stuck in so many of the 70s sounds, whether it's Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Jethro Tull, Yes, or ELP. I just love that stuff. And I'm not saying there isn't great sounds. Like your album sounds amazing. And as soon as I heard that snare drum that sounded like a snare drum, I was like, wow, I can't wait to ask Derek this. And you said, no, there's nothing on there. It sounds like the snare drum. Like, go figure, how novel, right? For a snare drum to sound like a snare drum, Derek.
Between the second album and this album, one of the things that Ian and I agreed on was going to be an improvement was actually recording the drums live in a studio.
Oh.
So on the second album, you're hearing my TD-50 that's sitting behind me there. Mm-hmm. This was a Sonar drum kit that was, I think it had maple shells, which I love, nice warm sound. Recorded live in a studio, Aardvark Productions, in Steubenville, Ohio, which is it is half of a sort of arrangement with a place called Studio L, which is run by Rick. Rick Witkowski. I always want to, for some reason or other, I always want to slaughter his last name, so I need to look at Rick Witkowski from Crack the Sky. So it worked out really well because we wanted to do a live in-studio recording of the drums, get that down, along with sort of I guess you call it like a scratch bass track, and then bring that to Diane and Jan to record their parts on top of that. And they, as it turns out, also recorded essentially live together. So hopefully what you hear on the album is a lot more of a live presence.
For sure. And before I ask you a couple questions about something you mentioned about the next album, when I was reading the liner notes and I saw Rick's name there, I was like, oh, wow, because in 1982, 83, 84, I was in a band called Opus One based in LA, probably the last prog band in the United States at the time. Like, what was happening in those years? Either skinny tie, short hair, new wave, or lots of hairspray and spandex hair metal, right? And we were playing stuff that was a combination of Frank Zappa, Old Genesis, and Gentle Giant. Like, what were we thinking? But I lived for a while with the bass player, and he collected imports and just odd things. And he introduced me to Crack the Sky way back then, like in 83. So I saw that. I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. And by the way, thank you. It's great to hear such actual mature, grown up, but not stuffy prog rock in the year 2026. That's really cool, which really does lead me to my next question. You mentioned that you guys are planning how the next album is going to sound, and I want to get a little more granular with that, with some of the changes, some of the aspirations. Are some of those growths, we'll call them, are they more in song structure? Are they more in the material itself, the subject matter? Is it sonically? Is it in the process of how you're going to record? Is it all of that? Or what would you say is the main second and tertiary focus of what you want to do a little differently or advance what you've done before with the next album?
There's a few things. This is the first album where we will have the luxury of working with pretty much identically the same lineup between 2 albums. It's going to be Diane and Jan and Ian and myself again working on the same album. We also have a saxophonist, Mitch Lawrence, who you hear a lot on the album too, and he'll be on this album also. So consistency of lineup. One of the things that Jan really brought to this album that I think elevated it, but we'll be able to take even more advantage of it on the next album, is he's an excellent arranger. So I feel like my strengths are really in the songwriting, the lyrics, and the essential melodies. But left to my own devices, the songs probably wouldn't have the some of the lengthier instrumental passages and the ideas that come in with the counterpoints and all that sort of stuff. Got to give him full kudos and credit for that. So
that's cool.
Having that in from the start as the songs are being formed, I think is going to be another big improvement. And then the other thing is that the funnel of material for this album is even larger than the second one. If I started with a few hundred songs for the last one or a few hundred ideas, this time I have like 700 or 800 ideas that I boiled down even more, and I have the opportunity to sort of work more interactively early on with Ian and the other folks who are going to be performing it to try to craft a little bit better. Because if you get down to like 50 songs or whatever, one of the things I love, which I'm sure you're aware of being a Jethro Tull fan also, like we heard those Jethro Tull albums and we're like, wow, those are 12 great songs. And now with these reissues, you find out, wait, there's a shitload of stuff that they left on the studio floor. Yeah. And that's great stuff too.
There were constraints back then,
Yeah.
And I love that. That's such a great point. Yes has done the same thing. There's finally the live Emerson, Lake and Palmer Works tour coming out. Like that never happened. It's so that's a really, really good point. Is there a song on this album, Morri's Rock Boutique, that was more challenging than others for some reason?
Deathless is probably the epic of the album. Okay. And that is a really good example of, I think, collaboration, band collaboration, because I had the pieces written with the lyrics and the melody and all that sort of stuff. But then when Jan sort of went through it, he had musical interlude ideas and arranging ideas that came through. And I got the recording of that pretty much like 24 hours before the studio was booked in Steubenville for me to lay down the drum tracks. Oh. I remember that having been a little bit challenging. And I know a lot of your listeners, being session drummers and all that sort of stuff, will be, you got 24 hours notice. Right, I get 20 minutes notice.
I heard it on the plane, on the back of someone's seat. And are we going to see you guys live? Like, are there plans to tour? Are you doing just certain fly out gigs or something? What's the deal with that? I'd love to see that stuff live. There will be some festivals next year for sure. And, hopefully this year we'll have some domestic gigs. Definitely want to do something on our own in Chicago. I think since we did IPO Fest here, but it's always tricky, when somebody sort of has to buy into the idea of, in order to see you for half an hour, they have to buy a ticket that's really for, a lot of half hours from other stuff. Yeah. So I think we'll try to do something on our own in Chicago, and probably something in New York, maybe something in Los Angeles, so that folks can see from those different areas. Cool. That's awesome. I have one more question. You may remember that what we do at the end is we ask and in this case, it's the Derek Ferguson Fun Fact segment. So what we'll ask you this time is this. And if it's a thinker and you need a moment, that's totally fine. Do you have a favorite memory of a favorite childhood food, and do you still eat that today? even if it's something like peanut butter Captain Crunch or something your mom made or your grandmother, anything goes.
Oh wow. Sloppy Joe.
Oh,
I mean,
that's a good one.
that's possibly getting into Adam Sandler's territory there, since he has that song Sloppy Joe. But I love it. And even so, my family is largely vegan, and I'm vegan for large parts of the year. So we have a vegan variety of it now with Impossible meat.
Right.
And oh man, I love it. That takes me back to childhood. How about you?
For me, there's so many. Sloppy Joe's a good one, and once in a while, my wife will treat me. I'm not supposed to have it, but Dr. Sutter can cheat. Sloppy Joe's a good one. My dad used to make. I'll never forget asking him, how'd you make this? He made spaghetti and meatballs once. I think I was like 10 or 11. And there was something about the meatballs. And I said, Dad, what's with the meatballs? And he said, do you want to know my secret? And I'm giving away the secret. Try it, folks. He would make the meatballs and mix grape jelly into the meat. And it gave it this whole other flavor complex of sweetness. And the grape went with the red meat. And it was just like, I've never made meatballs any other way since then.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, and I still do. It was great. Yeah, my mom did most of the cooking, but when he cooked, he kicked ass, man. Really, meatballs and a great steak on the barbecue.
Love it.
Yeah, cool. Hey, everybody, I put the link in there earlier. Go ahead and snag that album. It is so good. Hey, Kermit Thompson from North Dakota. It's very impressive. Congratulations. All of you did such a great job. I'd love the opportunity to see you guys live. If not, keep those videos coming. Anything you want to send to us to help promote, please do.
Thank you.
Very happy to. And again, thanks for making time, and congratulations on such a great effort that just came out so well.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Hang on the line with me after we say goodbye. And folks, thank you so much for joining Derek Ferguson and myself on Drum Talk TV, whether you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube Live on Drum Talk TV or our sister channel. Yes Shift, our prog gig that Stephen and I do together. We got fun stuff coming there. We got fun stuff coming on Drum Talk TV, including Don Powell is coming up. Do I have that right? On Saturday. That's going to be epic. I can't wait. A legend. And lots of other stuff. So join us. Go to www.drumtalktvbrilliance.com and check out the membership site. Lots of fun stuff there. And we'll see you all like pretty soon. We'll see you pretty soon. Saturday, in fact. If you're watching that right now, when is that? That's the day after tomorrow if you're keeping track. Thanks, everybody. All right. We'll see you soon.